Hey Hoopers, this is a review video for my Juneau intermediate class weeks 2 and 3. So here I'm going to kind of quickly go through what we've done in class 2 and 3, and then I'll break down each of those things in separate videos. So class 2, we spent a long time going over or kind of reviewing the reverse escalator and escalator back up. So I'll make a video where I go through some different things of transitions kind of in and out of that. So once you do get that move down, you'll have some ideas of where you can go. We did this wrap around the neck. So both directions. So I'll break that down. We did this booty wrap from behind. It's kind of a wrap slash pass. You're kind of using your butt to pass it around. We talked about this move that I do a lot. So coming on a horizontal plane, hitting the corner, rotating around, and doing whatever else from there. But just that little move, you can do a lot from there. In class 3, we talked about the hoop more as kind of a 3D object. So because I do a lot of this kind of wall plane, vertical, off-body hooping, that's a lot of what we've learned so far. But it's also really useful to think about the hoop as more of this 3D object that you're manipulating through space. And so we talked about folding and rotations, which I kind of grouped together. So we have some off-body folds, just rotating thumb up to thumb down, where the hoop is spinning around that center axis. You can fold kind of out in front, play around with different foldy type movements. I guess this iso lift is kind of a folding movement that we've done before. Another off-body side fold, rather than having your hand out at 3, grasping the outside, and put your hand back and through. And then from here you can either fold the hoop around your arm or pivot it more around this kind of imaginary central point, which takes a little bit more effort to get this kind of clean, isolated look. And I talked about this kind of save move that I do a lot, where I have it on my forearm and I'm carrying it across and I turn it into that fold movement. You can also use folds as a way to go from off body to on body. And then in general, just when your hoop is on body, you can fold on and off. That's kind of a combined, what I did right there. Folded off my body, or kind of just rotated it back, and dropped it onto that forearm, passed it across, and did that fold. So I'll dig into that in a minute. A couple just kind of small transition moves. So rolling across the hand, and that can be both kind of a swing out where it dips down below. It can also be used off of a isolation, where it looks more like kind of half a linear isolation, where rather than dipping down below, you're isolating out. We're actually going to talk about that more in our 4th class. So of course, both sides. And then another kind of transition move that I do a lot is this kind of pinky lead roll thing. So you're coming top of the hand, swinging out, rolling up, and then from here you can do any number of movements. We also talked about this one-handed isolation. So in class 1, or in the fall class, we had this two-handed isolation as part of our sequence. We just went once around in both ways. So I'll review that as well. But then we also have this one-handed isolation. I typically use my pinky leading. Today we'll talk about going both ways, in part just because even if you don't do it this way as a basic isolation, it's still helpful to have that movement in your repertoire because it can be used as kind of a transitionary move into other things. And then the isopop, which I've just done a few of, we talked about at the end of class 3. So we'll be playing around some more with that, and I'll break that all down.